Everything you've been told about the Bermuda Triangle is wrong. Not partly wrong, not slightly exaggerated, completely wrong. There are no aliens, no underwater pyramids, no portal to another dimension, no ghost ships, no magnetic anomalies pulling pilots into the void. The supernatural explanation that millions of people grew up believing, the one that made the Bermuda Triangle one of the most famous mysteries on Earth, was almost entirely made up. But here's the twist nobody tells you. The truth is so much weirder than the myth. Because the Bermuda Triangle does kill ships, hundreds of vessels, thousands of people, and the actual reason has nothing to do with magic. It has to do with science so violent, so unpredictable, and so terrifying that scientists are only now starting to understand what really happens out there. This is the real story, and by the end of this video, you'll wish the aliens were the explanation. Let's start with what the Bermuda Triangle actually is. It's a roughly triangular section of the Atlantic Ocean, bounded by Miami, Florida, the island of Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It covers about 500,000 square miles of open water, and starting in the 1960s, sensationalist writers began publishing wild stories about ships and planes disappearing inside it. Flight 19, the USS Cyclops, the Marine Sulphur Queen, they wrote books, they sold magazines, they built an entire industry around it, and the world bought it. But here's something most people don't know. The first man to popularize the term Bermuda Triangle was a writer named Vincent Gaddis in 1964. And the most famous book on the subject, The Bermuda Triangle by Charles Berlitz, published in 1974, has been thoroughly debunked by researchers. They found cases where Berlitz claimed ships disappeared in calm weather when records show massive storms, cases where he said vessels vanished without a trace when their wreckage had actually been found years earlier, cases where the ship supposedly lost in the triangle had actually sunk hundreds of miles outside it. The mystery was manufactured. In fact, when Lloyd's of London, one of the oldest, most respected insurance companies in the world, investigated the Bermuda Triangle, they found something incredible. The area does not have a statistically higher rate of disappearances than any other comparable stretch of ocean. Not higher, not even close. Lloyd's refused to charge ships extra to insure them when crossing through the triangle, because there was no real evidence it was more dangerous than any other patch of water. So if it's not magic and it's not statistically dangerous, why have so many ships actually disappeared there? Because of three real scientifically documented phenomena, and each one is more terrifying than the last. Let's start with the first. Methane hydrate eruptions. Buried in the seafloor of the Bermuda Triangle, locked deep in the sediment, are massive frozen pockets of methane gas. They've been there for millions of years, trapped under cold, high-pressure conditions. But every once in a while, something, an earthquake, a temperature change, a shift in the seafloor, causes one of these pockets to suddenly rupture. When that happens, an enormous bubble of methane gas erupts upward through the ocean, a bubble big enough to swallow a ship. Here's the science. Methane bubbles dramatically reduce the density of water. The buoyancy that keeps a ship floating depends entirely on the surrounding water being heavy enough to hold it up. When a giant bubble of gas rises beneath a vessel, the water around it becomes essentially aerated, like soda, like foam. And the ship loses all its buoyancy in seconds. It doesn't tip over, it doesn't roll, it doesn't have time to send a distress signal. It just falls, straight down, like a stone in a bathtub. Scientists have actually proven this in experiments. They built model ships, released methane bubbles underneath them, and watched as the boats vanished in the blink of an eye. There was no struggle, no survivors. The vessel just disappeared into a frothing column of gas. And here's where it gets even worse. When that same methane bubble reaches the surface, it doesn't stop, it keeps rising. Into the air, methane is a flammable gas, lighter than oxygen. Aircraft flying through the column can experience instant engine failure. The fuel-air mixture inside their engines becomes wrong, their lift drops, their instruments go haywire. And in some cases, a single spark can ignite the entire methane plume. Imagine a plane flying through what looks like ordinary sky. Then suddenly the air itself catches fire. The pilot has zero time to react. The aircraft drops into the sea, leaves no debris field, and the methane disperses before any rescue mission can find a trace. This is one of the leading scientific explanations for what happened to Flight 19. 5 Navy bombers that vanished in 1945. They were flying directly over a known methane hydrate region. They reported instrument failure. Then they went silent. No wreckage was ever recovered. For 80 years, people thought it was aliens. It might have just been a giant fart from the seafloor. Now let's talk about the second killer, rogue waves. For centuries, sailors swore they had seen massive walls of water, towers of ocean, rising 80, 100, even 120 feet in the middle of calm seas, swallowing entire ships in seconds. Scientists laughed at them. They said it was impossible. The math didn't allow waves that big to form spontaneously. Then in 1995, a real one hit an oil platform in the North Sea, and the sensors recorded it, a 26-meter wave about 85 feet, appearing out of nowhere in moderate weather. The sailors have been telling the truth for centuries. The Bermuda Triangle is now considered one of the worst rogue wave zones on Earth. The Gulf Stream, one of the strongest ocean currents in the world, runs directly through it. When that current collides with storm-driven waves coming from the opposite direction, the energy doesn't cancel out, it stacks. 2 waves traveling in opposite directions can briefly merge into one monstrous wave that can crush a ship in a single hit. And here's the part that should chill you. Modern container ships and cruise liners are not designed to survive a 100-foot wave. The strongest of them can handle maybe 50 to 70 feet on a good day. A real rogue wave hits them like a wall of concrete. Most of the time, there is nothing left to find. The Gulf Stream is so fast and powerful that it sweeps debris hundreds of miles away within hours. Lifeboats, bodies, wreckage. By the time rescuers reach the supposed site of an accident, the evidence is already gone, scattered across the open Atlantic. That's why so many ships seem to disappear without a trace in the triangle. They didn't vanish, the ocean just hid them. And then there's the third, and arguably the strangest killer, hexagonal clouds. Yes, hexagonal, as in 6-sided, as in geometric shapes hanging in the sky. In 2016, satellite images over the Bermuda Triangle revealed something that shocked atmospheric scientists. Massive cloud formations, sometimes up to 50 miles wide, forming nearly perfect hexagonal shapes in the sky. They had been there for decades. Nobody had noticed because nobody had been looking from above. These clouds are not just weird looking, they are weather bombs. Inside each hexagonal cloud, the air pressure builds up rapidly. Then in violent bursts, it explodes downward, sending columns of air slamming into the ocean surface at speeds of up to 170 miles per hour. These are called microbursts. They generate winds strong enough to tear apart small aircraft. They create ocean waves up to 45 feet high. They form without warning, without storm patterns, in otherwise normal weather. Pilots flying through them have described the experience as being punched out of the sky by an invisible fist. Ships unlucky enough to be directly underneath, one can be hit by both the wind and the wave at once. There is no time to call for help. There is no time to react. The combination of all 3 of these, methane eruptions from below, rogue waves from the side, and air bombs from above, make the Bermuda Triangle a unique convergence of environmental violence. Nowhere else on Earth has all 3 threats stacked on top of each other like this. The Triangle isn't supernatural. It's just a region where nature happens to have stacked 3 different ways to kill you in one place. And for decades, instead of asking why, we just decided it must be aliens. But here's what's wild. Science has now caught up. We can predict methane releases. We can warn ships about Gulf Stream-driven rogue waves. We can spot hexagonal cloud formations from space and route flights around them. Modern aircraft and modern ships have made the Triangle far less dangerous than it was 60 years ago. Disappearances have dropped. The mystery has faded. The truth has emerged. And maybe that's the lesson here. The world used to think the ocean was haunted. Now we know it's just chemistry, physics, and atmospheric science colliding in violent, beautiful, terrifying ways. Nature doesn't need ghosts to be scary. It already has methane bombs, 100-foot walls of water, and clouds that punch holes in the sky. The Bermuda Triangle isn't magic. It's something even more dangerous. It's real. If this completely changed the way you see the Bermuda Triangle, hit that subscribe button and join the Untold Earth family. We uncover the strangest, most jaw-dropping truths the planet has been hiding from you. And I want to know, Does the science explanation make the Bermuda Triangle scarier or less scary for you? Drop your honest answer in the comments below. I read every single one.